Hello, Great Hall, and greetings. Welcome to our live Q&A. This time it means Quidditch and Answers. I am joined this evening by Mary Kimball, Executive Director for USQ, US Quidditch. Also joining us tonight is Naresh and Christian. Thank you, gentlemen, so much for being here this evening. Quick on the introductions. For those that don't know, this is a hotel room in Brooklyn. I am still here. I have been here since February. I have 23 days to go, and then I get to go home. And I'm very excited about that. But we're doing the mass vaccination site at Medgar Evers College, and it's still an awesome mission, still good stuff. Mary, you are the Executive Director of US Quidditch. Give yourself a quick introduction. How long have you been with USQ?
Yeah, hi everyone. I have been with USQ for a little over 6 years. I started with the organization in January 2015.
All right. And Naresh, to you, what do you do with USQ, and how long have you been with the organization?
Hello. Thank you so much, Brian, for having me. So I first joined Quidditch in 2016 at Rutgers University. Started off as a player, quickly became a volunteer as well. And currently with USQ, I am a regional coordinator for the Northeast region. And just honestly, I do a lot of stuff with Quidditch in regards to, I'm so sorry. Along with, I co-founded Fast Break News, which is a media outlet for Quidditch specifically. So yeah, I'm just very excited to be here.
Fantastic. And Christian, same question to you.
Yeah, so I started playing Quidditch in spring of 2013. I went to Hunter College, also in New York City, and I played on the CUNY team of Calling Marauders. I'm wearing my alma mater shirt now. I continued on volunteering with the organization, becoming a regional coordinator around 2015, 2016. And I joined the board with USQ last year, and I became gameplay manager in January of this year. Before I finish up, just thank you, because I actually got vaccinated, both of my doses at the site that you're working at Medgar Evers.
Yes. We hit 170,000 vaccinations today.
Yeah.
Very excited about that. So thank you for getting vaccinated. I'm thrilled you were able to come through Medgar Evers. Hopefully you had a good time. Leave us a 5-star Google review. Anyway, that said, so real quick, so Naresh and Christian, you guys still play Quidditch. You are active players. Well, once we get back to actually playing Quidditch, you guys are active members of teams. What is your preferred position when you play? Christian, you go first.
All right. I play beater, when I'm on the field with my team, but I also participate, as a ref and officiating, and I would have to say I love snitching the most.
Love snitching. Now, for those who don't know, that doesn't mean that he's a bad person. Just want to let you know it is not a thing. He is not going to get stitches, nothing like that. He likes being a snitch, which is a position on the team. And the beaters, you don't actually hit people with sticks.
No.
Naresh, what did you say about beaters? You love most about being a beater, Naresh?
Best part about being a beater is that you get to take dodgeballs and just throw it at people. It's amazing.
Beat them with it. So
beaters are also good people.
The beaters are also good people. Let's just be clear. Well, some of them, but it's okay. There's some fine examples. But on the field, how many positions do you have on the field? Is it just like in the books?
Naresh has played more positions than me, so I'll throw this one over to him.
All right, we'll throw it to
absolutely.
Naresh.
So yeah, it's absolutely like the books, where you have your keeper, you have 3 chasers, and then you have 2 beaters, which make up 6 players on the pitch at one time. And then you'll start unlike the books, the snitch and the seeker play actually doesn't start playing until now the 20th minute, which is actually a new rule set, which we're very excited for. So what that pretty much means is after 20 minutes of game time, which is just chasers and beaters going up against each other, that's when the snitch and the seekers come out. And then for the most part, snitch does still, if you catch a snitch, that still ends the game. So for the most part, a lot of Harry Potter fans, people that have read the books, watched the movies, they'll recognize the Quidditch rules and and just the positions once they start watching. It's just that fast-paced action can get overwhelming sometimes. Like even as a player, like any like recruiting freshmen at colleges, they have no idea what's going on. When I first joined, I was just running up and down the field. I had no idea what was going on. Just felt like I was running sprints back and forth. But it's just one of those things where the longer you stick with it, the easier it will get and the more fun it becomes.
That's fantastic. So beaters throw dodgeballs at each other. Now you have like in the books, there are multiple balls.
Mm-hmm.
In Muggle Quidditch, if you will, in USQ Quidditch. And so beaters are chucking dodgeballs.
Yes.
What else do we have?
All right. So, I'm sorry, Christian.
Sorry, Christian, your turn. Christian, your turn.
So there's also the quaffle, which is like a slightly deflated volleyball. That one is what quaffle carriers, which are chasers, and then keepers, who are pretty much chasers, and they just have a little extra goalie powers. They score by getting it through the front or the back of the hoops.
Question, is it deflated like Tom Brady deflation, more or less?
Kind of. Yeah, that sounds about right.
By the way, folks, for the record, I am a Patriots fan. I'm allowed to make that joke in case I've offended any Patriots fans out there. So you got the quaffle, which is a slightly deflated volleyball. You've got the dodgeballs, which are carried by the beaters and chucked at people. If a beater hits somebody with the dodgeball, what happens?
You're just technically out of the game until you can sprint back to your hoops, touch the middle pole, and then get back on broom. And, between that tagging back up, as we call it, or tagging in, you're just not a part of the game. You're not allowed to engage in contact or touch any balls or anything like that. So you really want to rush to be able to help your team out again.
Wait. Back on broom. Oh, that's right. You're doing all of this while one hand is on a stick.
Yep.
That is between your legs.
Yes.
So you're playing the game single-handed, except now is the keeper single-handed as well?
Yeah. So first I will say that as you learn how to run with the broom, very many people just learn how to hold it between their thighs while they're moving around. I definitely wouldn't recommend running without making sure that it's balanced at full speed. But when you're at that walking to jogging motion, you can usually still use both of your hands. So the entire game isn't one-handed, but a lot of things that you do are one-handed.
That's awesome. That's and no hitting each other with the brooms.
No, that's explicitly illegal.
Extremely frowned upon. And of course, our first comment saying, "I feel like I probably should run with a broom," comes from a Gryffindor. Shocker. Thank you, Ashley, for that comment. A former head girl of our Gryffindor house. At least she didn't say run with swords, which is what they usually do. All right. So the game is Fast and Furious. So how long does a match typically last?
I think
I'll let Nilesh go first.
Yeah, because we actually, this past summer, because of COVID and everything, we had a lot of free time. So we sat there and did a lot of math and a lot of statistics. And we actually found out that the average game time is close to, I think it was 19 minutes, 47 seconds or so. It was actually very short. And that's very similar to, because of the fact that the Snitch doesn't come out in the previous edition, actually 18 minutes. And so an average game was about 19 minutes or so. And that's why we typically play in tournaments. And so we usually play in about 4 or 5 games per tournament. And in regionals or nationals, you might even play 6 or 7 games in the span of 2 days.
And I actually pulled the data for the past 2 to 3 USQ championships, and the average time was around 25 minutes.
Understood. So at 20 minutes, the Snitch comes out, and obviously that's a very exciting moment, and that is when we're introduced to the third ball that is in the game.
Yeah.
That is attached to a human.
Yes. Some people call it a ball. Some people call it a tail. It goes back and forth. What I want you to visualize in your mind is that, someone's wearing these yellow shorts, and on the back of it, there's kind of like a flag, like flag football, but inside that flag, there's a ball at the end. And that's the Snitch tail. Catching that Snitch tail earns 30 points for your team and ends the game. So it's really interesting how Snitch play happens at the same time as everything else. So, you want to keep track of what is the score right now? How close are we to that plus minus 30? Can I
don't pull a Victor Crumb, is what you're saying. Don't pull a crumb.
No concession catches.
That's very, very important. Very important. Now, I understand that the snitch is confined to a very small part of the field, right?
Yeah, so horizontally, there's about a bar that you can stay on.
Yeah,
So
he's not.
there's a
He's not allowed to
midline.
fly in the stands.
Yeah, no, definitely not. No flying in the stands. Snitches do avoid getting into the middle of where other people are playing just for safety reasons. But we do stay 1.5 yards from the midline in either direction on the field. And then as the minutes tick on, there are what are called Snitch Handicaps. So 5 minutes after the snitch comes out, they lose one of their arms for defending themselves. And then 10 minutes after, there's really like a small 3-yard circle that they can stand in, and that's about it. And that's where it really gets crazy because it's like everything's crashing in.
Spinning around. All right, so a snitch, unlike magical snitches, which have no arms, they just have wings, and apparently they're delicious because some people try to eat them. These snitches, not as delicious, but they also have arms. They can actually stick and move and push the seekers away.
Yeah. I would say it looks a lot like wrestling or judo in terms of, hand fighting and just trying to keep them away. I will say we are not as fast by far as the snitches from the book, but we are good at staying defensive.
That sounds like a lot of fun. So we've kind of done here in the first 10 minutes, and I apologize for going deep into gameplay. We're going to talk about the organization here now. But the whole point of this exercise was to show that this sport is a combination of many, many others. We got a little bit of volleyball, you got a little bit of dodgeball, you got a little bit of hockey, you got a little bit of soccer, otherwise known as football. You have a little bit of rugby, you have a little bit of hockey, you have all of these sports together to create a unique and magical sport of its own.
Yeah, Brian, I mean, that's literally how I used to recruit when I was at Rutgers, where I would literally just tell them, this is basketball. If you've played basketball, you're going to be good at Quidditch. If you played soccer, you'll be good at Quidditch. If you want to play rugby, you'll be good at Quidditch. It's like one of those things where we pull from such a diverse sports skill set backgrounds that it doesn't matter what sport you've played. We've had people that were swimmers in high school that have showed up and played Quidditch at a very high level. So it's exactly like you said, where Quidditch is such a unique hodgepodge of sports that it encompasses a lot of skills that a lot of people can just come in, jump in, and once they like actually start playing, they can really feel good about how they're playing because they've used their skill sets in other sports, and it translates really well.
More importantly, though, it is more than the sum of its parts.
Mm-hmm.
And it really is a unique sport unto itself. And it provides an opportunity for giant nerds to be physically active, which is, what our mission is here at Potterhead Running Club. So, Mary, tell me, what is USQ working on right now as we're here? It's spring of 2001. Everyone had kind of a rough year. In the year that shall not be named, which is what I'm referring to 2020 now as the year that shall not be named. So tell me, what has USQ got coming up here in 2021?
There is a lot, surprisingly. So one of the big changes we've made over the last year is how we approach other forms of inclusion, diversity, and equity in all of our programs. So for those that have especially been around Quidditch for a while, you might have heard of Title 9 3/4, which is the name of our gender inclusivity program, essentially. And part of that is the gender maximum rule that's in every edition of the rule book, not just ours, but internationally, that declares that a player's gender is the gender that the player identifies with. We have a very open and inclusive gender policy, arguably the most inclusive of any other sport. Like, it's none of the, you need to commit to this gender for this amount of years or hormones, right? It's like, this is your gender, this is how you're going to play. But with that program, we haven't done enough to address the experience for BIPOC athletes, for Black, Indigenous, people of color in our sport. So that's been really important, valuable work over the last year that has been worked on not just with our diversity, equity, and inclusion committee, but also throughout the entire organization. So, like joint projects with departments, like Christian's department with the gameplay and rules, have been doing a number of things related to like safety audits and looking at how do our policies make the sport safer or might hinder the experience for those from marginalized backgrounds. In the membership department, examining what barriers might exist for people to play the sport and what changes can we make, or financial assistance programs can we offer to help lessen those barriers for people. So that's been a huge shift for us, really, really important. We're also prepping to play again. We've not had any games for a while. There are teams practicing, thankfully. We have really robust return to play guidelines, though. So everyone still has to wear a mask when they practice. Most can't do full contact activities yet because our different stages are based on case numbers, which are still pretty high. And also the CDC guidance on sports hasn't necessarily been updated to with all of the increased vaccination numbers. So hopefully we'll get some new guidance from them soon. But we're ready to go, or we will be ready to go by the time the fall rolls around. So there's a number of new policies that we're working on for gameplay, rules, membership, events, all of those things to make the experience better and to try out a bunch of new things. Like we spent a lot of time talking about snitches, and one of the cool things that happened over the last year, which is like one of the most awesome things about working for real life Quidditch, our snitch runner certification program, which is a real thing, is getting a complete overhaul. Christian was actually a really big part of that last summer, starting that work on a really small team. And then the team has exploded and is now one of our largest staff groups in the whole organization, like a dozen people who are obsessed with snitching and want to make that part of the sport better. And so there's a bunch of changes happening there that are really cool to make it more like what we've seen with our referee programs, to be able to offer more support with educational resources, have a clearer way to delineate skill levels. So like we have tiers for referees, and now we're going to have tiers for snitches. So there's just a lot of things going on so that when we're ready to play, there's going to be a lot of really cool new things for our players to experience.
I actually find it wonderful that your organization has taken advantage of the downtime to make the whole organization better, and to make it more inclusive, to make it more welcoming to everyone, regardless of their background, where they come from. And I do find it amazing that there's a lot of people obsessed with snitching. I do find that to be a comforting thing. The people that think about all day about how can we be better snitches. How can I, are we talking about shorter tails, longer tails?
We also think a lot about like, how do we get new people to do it? How do we develop, other people that are snitching all over the place? Something that's interesting and is really true for all facets of Quidditch is that when you have things happening at a high density in a specific area, you'll see those skill levels develop, right? So there are a lot of snitches in the Northeast, which runs from Maine to the northern part of New Jersey, and in the Mid-Atlantic, which runs from northern part of New Jersey down to the Carolinas. But, some places like the Midwest or the West might have less snitches. Now, this year that shall not be named has made everyone think, what can we do with virtual spaces? So like one of the things that we've been planning are online workshops where you can meet other snitches from all across the country and trade skills, coming out with a handbook, recording videos, just a whole lot of stuff like that. And I think you'll be able to see it now on our banner, but you can find more about it at usquidditch.org.
Right there, usquidditch.org. And so I love that you've been able to capitalize on this past year. But I do want to ask you gentlemen, as men of color coming into Quidditch, what was it like for you coming into the sport? And how is it today? So kind of a
So-
compare and contrast from 13 and 16, respectively.
I think what helped my family be more okay with me playing Quidditch was the fact that I wrestled for 2 years in high school before coming over here. So my mom was just happy that I wasn't doing a sport that, as far as she thought, was going to be destroying my body. So I started playing Quidditch, and my dad didn't really believe that it was a real thing, but they were supportive in that they said, okay, this is what you're doing, just make sure you're keeping your grades up. And I think it really clicked for them because during the summer, while USQ's official season is on a hiatus, we have what are called fantasy tournaments. And this is just local organizers and volunteers putting tournaments together. And I went out to one in Long Island, and it was one of the biggest ones in the Northeast. There were people flying in from all across the country. Jeff Sherman, who was big in the community at that time, hosted it. And my parents came, and it was like 300 people that had come in for this, and they were like, oh, this is a real thing. Since then, they've come out to regionals that I've gone and visited and things like that. So in the beginning, it was definitely a lack of belief, but always moral support. And now it's come to a point where sometimes they'll travel with me. They've come out to tournaments. They've helped me host tournaments. So they're part of the community as well. And my father loves ordering Quidditch jerseys so that he can wear them out and someone can say, what sport is that for? And I'll be like, it's for Quidditch. My son plays Quidditch, and just brag.
Naresh, I love your comment. I look how, yes, it's a real thing. That's on our shirts. Yes, it's a real thing. Yeah, I know the feeling. So Naresh, how about you coming into the sport in 2016 and versus now?
For sure. I mean, I think I have a similar story to what Christian was saying, where when I first joined the sport, a lot of my friends, a lot of my family, they were just like, come on, dude, like, what are you doing? But then as they saw me just really fall in love with the sport, they just really started to appreciate the fact that, like, I had never gotten into a sport as much as I've gotten into Quidditch. And like, I've played sports when I was a kid, like, huge fan. I'm a huge sports fan, but it's like Quidditch was just something different, something just so unique. And I think that's what really pulled me in the most. And my parents really appreciated that. They haven't come to as many games as I would have liked, but just one of those things you take what you can get. But in regards to, I guess, more, I'll keep it in terms of the team side. Something I'm very proud of is I was the president of Rutgers Quidditch for 2 years, and in the span of 2 years, we went from a team of 9 people to 33 people, and we had 16 players that were players of color and 16 minority players, which was, I think, in my opinion, probably one of the highest rates in the entire country. And that's something I'm very much proud of. And I think for me, that's where a lot of, I think, universities and colleges just have so many recruits that they're not looking into. And I think because of the work that USQ has put in, a lot of leaderships recently have really taken a look at their recruiting methods, and we've really revolutionized and really just put together this program where teams will look at themselves and say, hey, we need to be better about how we're recruiting, and hopefully that really brings on a lot more players of color. So it's not just a couple of players on a team, it's a lot of players on a lot of teams showing out, coming out, and that's how you really grow the sport.
It absolutely is, and it's how you grow society too.
Absolutely.
When everyone gets to be involved, things tend to work better. So, guys, thanks so much for joining us tonight, folks. If you want to support US Quidditch, sign up for the Chaser 15 mile. We have extended registrations to the 17th of May to correspond with PHRC's Quidditch. Now, are you guys aware of our Quidditch? Have you? Mary's a little bit aware. So what we call Quidditch is a virtual event that is this year going to involve 24 teams running on a virtual 2,000-mile course through the Canadian and U.S. Rockies on the racery.com platform. And so individual runners log their own fitness sessions, walking or running using the treadmill, elliptical, or for our wheelchair folks, rolling with manual wheelchairs. And there's 50, 60 person teams, everyone uploads their mileage sessions to Racery. That moves their team icon along this virtual map where they can see images of the Rockies as they go along, thanks to Google Views. And the house that accumulates the most points over the course of 10 days, 10 and a half intense days, where we will log about 80,000 miles total. At the end of that, the house with the most points wins the Quidditch Cup, and it's an actual Quidditch Cup. We actually have a Quidditch Cup. It has wings on it. It's fantastic. But our daily cap per day, the most miles you can do in a single day, is 15 miles. So hence our Chaser 15 miler is our Quidditch themed medal. It's more themed like your Quidditch than our Quidditch. Our Quidditch is a running, walking fitness event. But it's still a lot of fun. So folks, if you want to support USQ, sign up for the Chaser 15 mile. Don't forget to get your shirt. It's very cool. It has the 3 Quidditch balls from the books there with various sayings about those balls in the shirt. It's a very cool Quidditch themed shirt, so you should absolutely get that. And that's going to help support USQ with their diversity initiatives, as well as some of their education initiatives and other stuff. Right, Mary? I can't remember it off the top of my head because I just out of my head.
Yeah, there's we're going to be coming back to playing events again, so organizing regional and nationwide competitions. We're hopefully going to be doing more with our youth programs, which we didn't get to talk about, but is a huge place that we're looking to expand to over the next several years. You're going to be supporting, honestly, my job. One of the really amazing things about US Quidditch is that we have 2.5 employees. We have 2 full-time, myself included, and 1 part-time employee. And so you're helping to support the work that myself and my colleagues do, as well as everyone else in the organization, because there are a lot of things that cost money that we're trying to do to make the sport better with harassment reporting, other safety initiatives, buying snitch sorts, having good quaffles, brooms, athletic trainers at all of our events. We might be based in Magic, but everything that we do is in the real world, and so your contributions just help make that possible and keep us going. And what's might be kind of a weird year for us to come back, but we're so excited to get back on pitch, and we're so thankful to everyone with Potterhead Running Club for helping to support us and help us get there a little bit easier.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, folks, for the last year, USQ has been running for that middle pole, trying to get back in the game and trying to get back on Broom. And it's taken a year for this sprint back and forth, more like a marathon. So, folks, sign up for the Chaser 15 mile, get your shirt, support USQ. Mary, Naresh, Christian, thank you so much for joining me today. I could seriously talk for an hour about Quidditch because I find it absolutely fascinating. Folks, if you want to become a Quidditch player, go to usquidditch.org. If you want to support them in other ways, if you want to learn about maybe being a referee or learn how to be a snitch, or just learn how the game is played. If you want to attend a match, I guarantee you this year I will finally check it off my bucket list and I will attend a Quidditch match, maybe in the Northeast region. Because I hear that's the coolest of all regions. And if anyone from the Midwest or the Southeast is watching, yeah, I said the Northeast is best. I did.
You'd be correct with that. So
I would be correct with that. Thanks so much for joining me tonight, guys. And folks, if you have other questions, comment on the video if you're watching this later, and hopefully we'll be able to circle back around and answer some questions for you, or I'll pose that to our USQ friends and get you an answer to that question. Thanks so much for joining me, guys. Have a wonderful night.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Bye.
Thanks,
See you guys.
everyone.